You're listening to the Blacktop Banter Podcast, the premier podcast in the asphalt industry, made for contractors with contractors.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Blacktop Banter. We're getting into the off season a little bit here, and if you are on social media at all lately, you will have likely seen a little logo with a lot of action going on, and that's G-Force. And my guest today, we've kind of been how do I put this? Maybe doing flybys. Maybe that's how I should say it, right? We haven't necessarily been in the same cockpit, but now we're hoping to be, and we will be here coming up, which is very, very exciting. So I would love to introduce you to Jack Child. Jack, please introduce yourself to Blacktop Banner.
Thanks, Marvin. Jack Child, founder of G-Force Parking Lot Striping. We were the first franchise to franchise exclusively to military veterans. So our owners, each location is at least 51% owned by a military veteran. Some are still active in the Guard and Reserve, but most of them are discharged from the military.
Wow. So it's always my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts of Blacktop Banner is how the heck did we get to this point? Like, how did Jack Child get to starting this franchise of veteran-owned line striping companies? Because everybody's got a unique story in this one, and I can't wait to hear yours, Jack.
So I was born a poor white Irish kid from the south side of Chicago. Joined the Army with plans to be a Chicago cop. That was my goal. I did military police work in the Army, realized that I was growing cynical from police work. I said, I'm not going to do that. So I got out, went to college down at Daytona, Embry-Riddle. It's a flying university, essentially. You get a degree and you learn to fly there. And my dad had airplanes when I was a little kid. So there was a little bit of that flying bug in me. Then I went back in the Air Force as a pilot, an instructor pilot. Stepped out of the military cockpit right into a Delta jet as a Delta pilot.
Oh, really? And flew for Delta. How long did you do that, Jack?
32 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, you're committed. I didn't know that. No, I knew that you were a pilot, but I didn't know that it was with Delta that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but at, post 9/11, airlines went through a lot of problems, challenges, bankruptcies, terminated our pension, layoffs, furloughs, seat regression. Kind of the world was coming unglued as an airline employee back then. And I started looking around like, well, maybe I need to come up with plan B. And so I somehow stumbled upon the driveway sealing business and realized there wasn't really a brand name in the local market.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of did a deep dive on what it takes to, open up a driveway sealing business.
Whatever made you look at that, Jack? What of all industries?
Well, I think it's because of the sort of contractors I was seeing locally.
Okay.
There wasn't any sort of branding, and I looked at a Jet Black franchise, right?
Okay.
They were out of Minnesota. I'm sure you know those guys.
Yep.
But they didn't have any locations that far east, and they were also going to be shipping the buckets, and it just didn't seem like that was going to be practical for me at the time. And so I just decided to, jump with both feet into that business. I named the business after my dog. And we had a great little dog logo. And we captured the market pretty quickly, and it grew very rapidly. And I belonged to this business group, and I was sitting next to this young lady who was a franchise consultant. She's asking me about my business. She said, "Oh, you should franchise that." So like, oh, okay. So I did, and not really knowing what I what I was doing, but I did it anyway. And so that brand started to take off, and then we branched into striping as a separate brand if they were related. And we ran into some partner issues, and so I wound up terminating that partnership and selling the business. Uh, Somewhat ironically, to Jet Black. They took over my
really?
old brands. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I had a non-compete, and I didn't plan on coming back into the business, but I started looking at other franchises, maybe just to go be a franchisee. I just wanted to. I have that entrepreneurial bug. And,
Yeah, you can't stop.
So I
Yeah.
kept looking at franchises, saying, "Well, I would do it this way." If I'm reading their franchise disclosure documents, well, I wouldn't do it like that, and I think that's too expensive, and they're really overcharging for this, and they're to this, and they're to that, and I kept thinking, about how I would do it as a franchisor, and I had learned two lessons from my previous business experience. One, the striping side of the business was frankly easier to manage, and it was also nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little tough to sell a seal coating franchise nationwide. There's just
Yeah.
some markets, unless it's commercial, there is no residential work, and that's
Right.
difficult. So striping, I felt, was something that would be easily standardized nationwide. Every state could use striping, and I had a couple of veterans in our group. We just kind of connected. I think not veterans aren't better than anybody else, but there's this certain brotherhood, if you will. There's a connection there, and I found them to be the easiest to work with, whether they were succeeding or struggling. They were still trying to make it happen, mission oriented. And so I said, well, maybe I will. And we'd also offered a free franchise, ran a Facebook contest, and we had a grand total of 4 entrants, but one of them was really sharp young man, and a Purple Heart vet, and we gave him the trailer. The Graco donated the machine. Sherwin-Williams donated the paint. We donated the franchise fee, the training, all the tools that go with it. So I was pretty focused on trying to help vets get into business because I knew striping was a pretty neat business.
Yeah.
And the best way I felt to broadcast that and share that information was through the franchise model. So anyway, getting back to G-Force, I said, if I could find a way to attract more veterans, I want them to show up on time, in uniform, and be accountable. Those are our 3 promises that we make at G-Force. And so I said, well, maybe make it exclusive to them, and maybe that will be the magnet. And frankly, that was it, because it's generally hard, I think, to nowadays. There's a lot of competition in the striping franchise world suddenly. But up until
I wonder how that happened. I wonder why.
So, I think I do take credit for the first person to realize that striping ought to be franchised back in 2000.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of asphalt podcasts now too popping up everywhere, Jack. Yeah. So that's the way it goes.
So I made it exclusive to vets. I won a pitch contest at an event called Innovets, like Innovation for Veterans, out of Boston, Massachusetts, in conjunction with Massachusetts Fallen Heroes. I made the pitch that, hey, I want to start this franchise, and we went up against over 20 veterans, entrepreneurs, and we took first place.
Wow.
And I had only my location at that time. I had opened in September. Jet Black was kind enough to relieve me of my 5-year no compete like a couple months early. I said, do you mind if I get started, late fall? They were cool about it. And so I did the pitch contest in November. I sold my first franchise in like July of 2018. And I sold my second one like December 31st of 2018.
Wow.
And I used that prize money to hire a PR firm. The PR firm got me on a national TV show in the morning. And once we made our pitch online, our website crashed. Like, I had hundreds of inquiries.
Wow.
Most of them were not quality leads. They were just people sitting watching TV and go, I want to do that, So for the most part, they weren't particularly good leads, but it was pretty good exposure. We sold one or two off of that's how they first heard about us.
Okay.
And then we've kind of been selling about 10 a year since then. This year's been slow. The marketing program that we had fell apart with our vendor. So we were scrambling. So this year we had like a 6-month gap where we were, it's very competitive there are 4,000 franchises, right? You're trying to stand out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're competing not only against other striping franchises, but against other franchises, right?
So that we've regrouped, and now we're starting to get good quality leads again. We're closing a few more deals in the next month, December, actually.
Wow.
So that's kind of how it all happened, and all while also working as a pilot.
Yeah. When did you retire from doing the pilot work?
2 years ago.
Okay, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, Jack. I thought I was expecting you to say 7 years ago or 8 years ago, but you've really been putting it. I just figured a G-force. I guess maybe I just figured it was. To me, and I'm a unique one, right? As soon as something happens or a name is mentioned, I usually hear of it and then it gets stuck in my brain. I'm like, oh, it's been there about this long. So for me, I thought, well, Jack would have had to have been like, no, I can't do this, especially with as good a success as you're seeing at G-force. I would have thought.
Yeah, the early guys. I mean, I told them, look, I'm an active pilot. But I was looking for something. I didn't want to just retire and sit at home.
Yeah.
And so I started a few years prior to my retirement, and I think I had sold 15 before I actually brought on another full-time person.
Wow.
And but I had really good early franchisees. Our first franchise partner came in. He's awesome. He's our instructor, and it was really those very strong early prospects that came through that converted to being owners. That's critical in the franchise world. If you bring on 5 people and 3 or 4 are not a good fit, it just makes it impossible to grow.
I have a question about that. Retention on those guys, people that have bought in to G-force franchise, I imagine being as the character traits they have as being former military, they commit right to making this thing work and are mission oriented. The retention has to be high. Am I correct on that? As far as people that acquire,
it's not always high. Ours is very, very high. You don't get to 44 locations without some bumps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We had one gentleman became essentially disabled, and just his doctor says you need to shut it down. And we thought we had a buyer, but it was kind of short notice. He's just got to stop for his own health. So that happened. We had another one that came in, and we realized it really wasn't a good fit for
that was my next question. Yeah, there's some people that just and that's okay, but sometimes it's just not a good fit. And
it's you're doing quick marriages, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are shotgun marriages. You're putting your best foot forward. They're putting their best foot forward, and it seems like it looks really good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start interacting, and business is challenging, right? It's most of our folks have never owned a business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mentorship, and I love that part of it. But they've got, we have to sustain the same core values.
Yeah.
Across the brand. And,
yeah.
I consider myself extremely lucky. I'm in the franchise space, and I hear a lot of horror stories from my fellow franchisors. And it's really hard to keep folks pointed. And the other part of that is a lot of other franchise systems. It's sort of every man or woman for himself. Like they're really not overly concerned about what's happening. If they're in New Hampshire, why would they care what's happening in California with the location?
Correct.
Our folks have a very active social network, personally and professionally, to help each other out. They have quick chat rooms if they're out in the field and they're having a problem. Someone's there to help them. We've had a situation where one of our locations, his main person just ghosted them and disappeared, and we had 7 major projects to get done.
Mm.
And our first franchise owner, Vish, was coming back from helping our Alabama location. And I knew he was on the road, and I called him. I go, "Where are you?" "I'm about an hour west of Atlanta." I said, "Go to," and he was heading to Tampa. I said, go to Atlanta, or would you go to Atlanta and hop on an airplane and go up to Pittsburgh to help our guys in Pittsburgh out? So 3 hours later, probably 4 hours later, Vish was on the machine helping our
Get
Pittsburgh
out.
team get through 7 big projects.
Wow, man.
So that's one of
wild.
the best stories we've got. But there's a lot of that going on. We're putting people on airplanes to help around the country, or they're hopping in their truck and driving 10 hours to help on a big project for one of the newer guys.
What does it
going on.
What does it take if what does it look like as far as when somebody inquires about becoming a G-Force franchise owner to where they're on the machines doing their first project? What does that look like for that person that takes that step? What's that process look like?
So there's a lot of conversations, right? Going, you're sort of selling, as I describe the process. We're trying to sell to them, right? To show them the features and benefits, if you will, of joining G-Force as opposed to perhaps another brand or going out on your own. There's a lot of competition. Like, well, I could do this myself, and actually, everyone we've ever brought on, I'm certain, could go out and learn how to stripe on their own. But we think we offer a lot of benefits that they couldn't have on their own. So anyway, we have these sort of business type philosophical discussions. Some of it's legal discussions. What does this clause mean in your document? Things like that. We encourage them to take our documents to franchise attorneys and have them review them.
Okay.
I think our franchise documents are very franchisee friendly, which is not particularly common in our industry. We have a scaled royalty. Our franchise fee was very, very low. We still sell what we call partial territories for as little as $7,500.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We cap out at $37,500. Some of my competitors, frankly, for that, our $37,500 franchise fee, they would charge as much as $350,000.
Wow.
I think we're pretty good value.
Out.
And so a lot of conversations, but then once and then the process is they need then to sell us on them. Like, why do you want to join us? Kind of a little bit like a job interview.
Yeah,
but it's different because you're not hiring an employee. You're essentially it's a partnership. It's a little bit of a marriage, and
right.
So, and
you guys have such a strong brand. Right, like you're investing in this person too, even though they're investing in the franchise. Your brand is investing in them.
Yeah. We can afford to, and you need to be picky. You start getting some red flags, and you just don't pursue them as much, and they tend to fall by the wayside. And then once they sign, they go through training in Tampa.
Okay.
They spend a week down there with Vish. We have a pretty extensive online training platform that they do that online training before they attend the hands-on training. Once they leave there, they know enough to be dangerous.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, they can provide the service, right?
Right. They can do a really fine job on fairly simple, straightforward projects. Build that confidence. If they get into, and one of our locations, literally his first bid was a $30,000 warehouse project.
That's fun.
So we helped him bid it, right? And then we flew Vish up to have him
make sure he nails it
with him, right? So the kind of the neat thing is there's really no project a rookie has to say no to, because
you guys have that network, right?
Pull the cavalry in, so to speak, from around the system, and we've had 3 or 4 location owners come together on projects.
Wow.
So
that's unique. That's unique what you guys offer with that, right? I mean, that support, right? Right? We're
Absolutely.
calling in support, which is fun for me when I think about it in the context of G-Force's brand to begin with, right? We need support. Bring somebody in, right? You got guys that are looking for that. We've got that somewhat here with our success group with the young entrepreneurs and stuff that are in there where they're on a site and they're like, I don't know what's going on. My machine won't pump. And here I've quoted this job and we're on it right now, right? And we're all, we do a group call and there's 4 or 5 guys covered in sweat and grime being like, hey, maybe it's this, try this out. But thinking about that, your solution to that problem, I can remember being a young seal coating contractor on these jobs, looking at this cool piece of equipment I got, my first air diaphragm pump, and wondering why the heck is this thing not pumping? I'm on a parking lot and I got only so much time to do it. And there was no support. It was literally, even when you called the manufacturer, they're like, we don't know. It could be whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh. So to have that unique thing is really, to me, there's so much value in that, right? Where people just, I imagine, Jack, they're like, in many other franchise instances, more than likely, here you go. This is what you get. Good luck. Right. And
Well,
it's tough.
I think all painting with a broad brush, they all intend to provide good support.
Good. That's good.
That's their intention. We're able to do it, I think, better because we have so much support from in the system. Mm-hmm. That's above and beyond what, the answer. I might not know it. My partner Craig might not know it. John Kling, our VP of Sales and Business Development, might not know the answer. And then they might try to reach Vish, and maybe he's tied up or he's on vacation in Europe. We still have 40 other people to get the answer for it.
I'm incredibly proud of the Blacktop Banner Edition seal coating unit produced in partnership with KM International and available in both 550 and 700 gallon versions. Custom built on the same frame as their bulletproof hot boxes, I work closely with KM to design what I believe is the best seal coating unit on the market, a unit designed by a contractor for contractors. Learn more about the unit and to see a walkthrough of the entire unit by visiting kminternational.com.
Hey, Jessica Lombardo with Pavex, the Pavement Experience, and I want to invite you all to join us in San Antonio for the first ever event. It will be held January 30th through February 1st at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. We are going to have a live equipment demonstration over 2 days, 60 hours of educational programming, and a full trade show floor with over 75 manufacturers of equipment in the paving and pavement maintenance space. So please join us there, and to learn more and get yourself registered, visit www.pavexshow.com.
If you're serious about efficiency and performance, listen up. The Craftco SuperShot 125 is not just a melter, it's a strategic pavement maintenance advantage. Quick startups, fume-free, automatic agitator shutoff, a splash-proof lid, and pumping on demand, these features are essential for any serious asphalt maintenance contractor. So don't settle for mediocrity. Elevate your game with the Craftco SuperShot line of melters by visiting craftco.com today.
In my opinion, Dynapack CC900G roller is the best roller on the market for driveway and small parking lot paving contractors. The seismic technology in these rollers is unbeatable for the smoothness and compaction they provide, and I'd choose the Dynapack CC900G over the little yellow roller that you're used to seeing every single time. But don't just take my word for it. Check them out in person at Pavex and World of Asphalt, or visit Dynapack.com to find a dealer near you.
Hey Blacktop Banner fans, this is Michael with Aquafault. Say goodbye to potholes and roadway damage without the need for large crews, heavy equipment, or toxic chemicals. Aquafault is the only permanent repair material for asphalt and concrete that uses water. And installation is simple. Just pour, add water, and tamp. It's that easy. An Aquafault repair can be open to traffic immediately and fully sealed within 24 hours. Plus, the product is backed by a 3-year warranty and made in the USA. Visit aquafault.com. That's AQUAPHALT.com to learn more.
In the past year, Jobber has been our CRM of choice at Wiscode, and it's made our world exponentially better efficiency-wise. The request to quote and quote to invoice process is seamless and professional. The scheduling aspect keeps us on point and the team leaders moving throughout the day from project to project, while the timesheet feature tracks the team members' hours. For our small seal coating company, it has helped build the solid foundation we can scale from. Jobber is now a sponsor of Blacktop Banter and helps bring this show to you. With this partnership, Jobber is offering an exclusive savings to BB listeners of 20% off for 6 months. To take advantage of this, find the Jobber link in the show description and get to improving your process today.
Hi contractors, it's Kyla from Wiscoat. We use Stencil Plus for all of our pavement marking stencils. Alphabet letters, numbers, directional arrows, handicap markings, you name it. We use it and we get it all from Stencil Plus. Right now, for a limited time, you can save 10% on your stencil order by using code BB10 during checkout at stencilplus.com or by calling 877-372-6055.
Contractors, you need to make it easy for potential customers to reach you. Get a custom phone number from the 800 Pavement Network and plaster it on the side of your trucks and rigs, and I guarantee you'll see increases in leads and jobs booked. Get yours by calling 1-800-728-3636.
World of Asphalt is the leading asphalt trade show and conference, and will be taking place on March 25th through the 27th, 2024 in Nashville, Tennessee. From mainline to maintenance, the show will be your one-stop shop to see everything the asphalt industry has to offer. Registration is now open, and listeners can save 20% off registration with the code BB20 when they register on worldofasphalt.com. What's the toughest hurdle that you've seen for the 44 locations? Like for that person, is it getting them to understand basic business concept? Is it the striping itself? What is the one where you're like, we've had to give more attention here? Because you're taking guys that, like you said, are mission oriented, but likely never been business owners before.
So I think when they first start, I think it's the striping, right? Because that's the physical piece. It's the visible. It's what I have to do to get paid and have customers. Once they get a little comfortable with that, it's when we start noticing that they need to be working on the business side of things. And so, we hold semi-weekly calls, and then a big monthly call. We also, if we've got a location that's, their closure rate's low, we'll set them up on a more than weekly call to help them figure out what's happening with their pricing. We're employing some new technologies to help close more deals. I'd say the business side of it is foreign to them. Tasks, you can learn a task that's a little more straightforward than learning a business. And there's way more to owning a business than most people realize until they get into it. And I think even once they're into it, they don't really realize what it is they're supposed to be doing to run, I think, a world-class business. They think that I go out and I stripe the straightest line, that the world is going to beat a path to your door. And the fact is, I believe you could do a B+ line with A+ customer service, and you're going to do better than the A+ line.
Yes.
With a B+ or less customer service side of it. Now, we of course are searching for that A+ line.
Yeah. Wow. I gotta write that one down, Jack. Nailed that one. Yeah, I think that's a general consensus, right? Is we even here, right? For an example, when we were Chris, who's our operations director, and people have come to know him a little bit as of late. Like with me, he was like, "Oh my goodness! Like we need a different camera, we need better editing, we need all this stuff, and then it's really gonna pop." And I was like, Chris, these guys are in the field with earbuds in, listening to something that, and frankly, for their industry, there is nothing else. So we can do a D+ job, and it's better than anything else out there. And thankfully, I've been able to just been like, run with it, buddy. But like for us, there are people who do notice that. But for the most part, when you provide decent service, but you make it a great experience along the way, it seems like that's the winning concept, right?
If I could, for a moment, circle back to your service support. My favorite service support call was guy's out, he's on the field, and he can't get the machine to spray. And of course, we start with well, it could be this, it could be that. I'm calling this guy when Vish is on the phone, and the tip was just turns. I mean, we were so focused on the worst case scenario that we're going
Yes.
to start with the basic thing, And
Yeah.
so those are fun stories.
Yeah, it's fun to see that. And then, like a lot of people come to me, and I'm honest when I say, when we have people that are in the group or just random people, right? They'll just message. Thankfully, it goes through a filtration system, but it used to not. It used to just come right to my phone or right to my message. And I had the whole world asking me
Right.
troubleshooting problems, right?
Right.
And honestly, candidly, I know for a fact I'm not the most knowledgeable seal coater that there is out there right now. I know because I'm amazed by some of the work that my peers do that I'm probably not the most meticulous. I would say I'm very well rounded, but I'll have people asking me about a ditch runner, and I've never ran a ditch runner ever, right? Like, well, what's wrong with the piston right here? I don't know, man. So for us, like
You have a
that was the
podcast.
yeah. Listen to this podcast episode, right? Or give me a week and I'll have a guest on and I'll ask them. Yeah. So for us, that was the basis of like having a Blacktop Banner chat group, a Blacktop Banner success group, is I had myself personally made friends with great people within our industry. And when I did, I had that group, right, of people. So,
Apologize for the doggy doorbell there. If you heard that.
well, I'm sure we're going to grab one. Yeah, it's hard telling what will happen here. Somebody usually comes in asking what I want for lunch. But I had that little bubble of people that I was using great as a resource. And I thought, well, in order to get this off of me, I'll create one for everybody else. Right.
Right.
And then we can go ahead and do that. But I had somebody one time, very similar story, call me like, it's not pumping. The machine, I got a brand new seal, right? It's not pumping. And I went through like, well, is the pilot valve okay there? Are you low on sealer? Did you, is your basket, is it clogged? Where are we looking at? And they're like, I don't know, man. I'm like, well, maybe the pump's cracked. I'm like, show me the pump. And he showed me the pump, and I seen the air valve was turned off.
Right.
And that's all it was. Somebody had bumped it and the air valve turned off. And this guy was freaking out. We're thinking worst case scenario.
Right.
I'm
Yes,
like, see that little blue handle? Turn that.
It's got to be the worst thing.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's human nature, for sure. It's fun. Those are fun stories though. Correct. What's fun, right, is you have a great amount of knowledge in a certain field, and then you have people around you that have garnered a lot of experience. I imagine Vish is very experienced now, right, with what he's done. You have a great collection, which essentially makes a mastermind, as we have come to call them. We have a unique thing coming up, you and I. We are going to be at Ignite Summit. You'll be speaking. Finally, I'm attending. I'm not doing a panel or anything. I get to learn and enjoy my friends.
You're not on the panel?
I don't have to do anything. Justin just gave me a break. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to take it in, enjoy some beaches. I'm sure we'll create some content and whatnot while we're there. But I'm really excited about that because you get to share your knowledge. We have a great discussions there lined up. Justin, those guys do, and Amy, and we get to kind of do the mind meld thing, right? And I'm really excited to that and get to know each other a little more personally. Tell us a little bit about Ignite and what you'll have going on there, Jack.
So I believe I'm on a panel talking about company culture, and so they, because of my role, there's some things that I'm not at liberty to share because of my fiduciary responsibilities to my owners, right? I'm not really, I shouldn't be in a position to be handing out sort of our company secrets, if you will. But Jess said, "Well, what about this one particular panel?" I said, "Yeah, that's good. It's about company culture, and there's a lot of employee challenges out there right now." And a little more background about myself: I was a union leader for the Airline Pilots Association. I was a board of directors as a local representative, and I represented a very large voting bloc for the New York first officers, pretty large pretty large group. So I come from a pro labor background,
Okay.
and I find that helps me as I manage my own staff, and I've managed employees in the past. So I'm looking forward to that discussion because there's a lot of struggles. We're having struggles. A lot of our franchise locations, frankly, would be doing more in sales if we could find folks to to recruit and train properly and stay aboard. But it's as everyone knows, with a 3.9% unemployment rate, it's a challenge, right? So,
Yeah.
but I'll take those dynamics over a much higher employment rate where we have a better choice, if you will, but we don't have as much work.
Yeah.
So I think it's manageable. But you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Things have changed, right? Next year will be 20 years of owning Wiscoat, and uh, it's just changed. The market, the employee market has changed. What you have to do as an owner versus before, right? Your whole expectations 20 years ago as an owner, and you have to do with an employee for an employee to keep an employee have completely been flipped. And that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to kind of get people to understand. And that comes down to culture as well, right? Like, we ran into an issue this year. I've been doing a lot here at Blacktop Banner and pulled myself out of Wiscoat a little more. I didn't realize how big of a lightning rod for culture I was. That's just my natural demeanor, I would imagine. But me being removed from that, we saw it get shaken up, right? And somebody else comes in as the culture leader, and then if that's not the same and the dynamic changes, it's very different. And I think it's a double-edged sword. There are less people applying for work. There's a lot of work to be had. I think that yes, you had more in the past to choose from, but I believe that with the narrow scope of people applying, maybe the ones that have the ambition to apply might have a stronger case for having the character traits that you might be looking for. So I think it's all that interviewing and filtering process. I may be completely wrong on that, but that's what I've
No,
come to feel kind of.
absolute challenge. They do exist. They're
Mhm.
just it's getting harder to find them.
Yeah.
And then you can't rely on the way it used to be. If you're going to
No.
try and do that, it's not going to work. There's going to be natural friction that's built into it, and
Yeah.
the potential employee may already sense that in the interview
Mm-hmm.
that this is not the person I want to work for, or they're still
Mhm.
thinking this is the way it used to be. And
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. The dynamic, I think, overall when it comes to that conversation is before, like you were alluding to, it's a bottleneck. And before it wasn't such a bad bottleneck,
right, yeah,
right? And it's like that's the frustrating part of it because there really isn't too much you can do. You can build this environment that would be absolutely fantastic, but you need to find the right person that's important to, right? For them to stay and want to stay. And people are offering all-time wages, right? For everybody. And that still isn't enough. It has to be the sweet sauce that fits somebody just right. It's like another marriage, like you were talking about, right? To get somebody to commit to that. And I've never heard people saying you have to get your employees to buy into your vision as much as I have this last year with all of my business owner friends. And it's like that's where they're seeing success is you have to have somebody committed to what you do. But on the flip side, we can't necessarily have absent business owners anymore because they want you present. They're married to your vision, right? And what you want to do. So it's very, very tricky. I'm really looking forward to that conversation that you all have at Ignite. Um, Jack, online, I kind of mentioned to you beforehand, I'm really excited when I get on LinkedIn and I see the GeForce business owners there, right? It has like a bracket that says um, people that you might want to add to your network,
Mhm.
right? And like if there's a list of 20, 4 of them are GeForce
Mhm.
people, whether they work at GeForce or they own GeForce or whatever they are when it comes to mine. And I just hit add on all of them. I'm going to be honest with you. Like
Thank you.
I flat out, I'm just like, okay, anybody on G-Force, I want to see what they're up to and what they're doing. But yourself is on there. Jack Childs is on there. Jack, where can people find you online and what's going on?
Well, in terms of my LinkedIn profile,
Yeah, you can find Jack on LinkedIn for sure.
got a
And
place for
then,
radio. There aren't too many Jack Childs, but I'm on there. There's on the LinkedIn profile. There's links to our website. I also am involved with what we call Veteran Service Brands. It's an umbrella group. We have 3 other brands that are exclusive to veterans: Mach
okay.
1 epoxy floors, field ops, athletic
Okay.
field markings. We
Oh, what a
discovered
great
there was
idea.
like, what's that?
What a great idea.
Thanks. So we discovered there's a lot of demand for fields that our folks weren't really wanting to deal with, and so we launched Field Ops. We have 4 locations. Most of them are using autonomous robots, which is kind of fun to watch. And then Paint Corps, like Marine Corps, that's a home and commercial painting franchise. And those other 3 are really in their infancy and essentially their first year of operation. About 8 or 9 Paint Corps. I think we're going to be at 9 or 10 Mach 1 epoxy floors. And like I said, Field Ops has 4 locations. But my LinkedIn profile has a way to get a hold of me. They can look at veteranservicebrands.com or
Cool.
gogforce.com.
Yeah.
So pretty easy to find if you're trying to.
Very neat. I'm smiling because I think of like you were saying, typical entrepreneur. Hey, this worked. Let's do it again. Right?
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that's. I think I think it's very neat to see the need like you guys do. Hey, there's a need here. Let's do it again, right? And see where it goes. I really like that. To me, as an entrepreneur, I connect with that. Right? We did Wiscoat. Hey, this worked. As I start Dubuque asphalt maintenance, we're strictly in Dubuque where I see there's a need for commercial seal coating and asphalt maintenance. Right? Let's see where it goes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's. Success is a unique thing when it comes to business ownership because you can succeed at one, and if you're an entrepreneur and you really have that entrepreneurial bug, it's not about the lifestyle that it provides. It's kind of, this is my hobby. This is what let's do it again and come over with some challenges, and it's fun for me. So I think that's the entrepreneur thing. It's fun.
I love the. I think the thing that really excites me is that startup phase. I think it's why I fit well in the franchise world. I think some of those skill sets, frankly, come. I was an instructor pilot, and I always had to remember what it was like to be, the first time behind a KC-135 trying to plug in and get gas. It's easy for me to do. This is their first time doing that, and it's a really challenging maneuver. Some instructors forget how hard that is, right? And so I never forget how hard it is to start a business.
Yeah.
And so each of these, I've essentially launched, 50 startups because
that sounds like a nightmare.
It is in a way.
for me, for anybody hearing that where that's not their zone of genius or zone of excellence, they're like, oh gosh,
So, but that's, I guess it's just the way I'm built. But so I understand when they're in that early phase that being terrified, right? And as well as we do things, the phone does not ring off the hook the first day. It takes some other things that we do and some effort on their part to start building that lead flow. I've got a great tech firm behind us, a good tech stack supporting us, and so that's been key to our success. Is having that tech built the right way for a multi-location brand is very important.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to hear and understand somewhat of how it's all designed and worked. And you keep referring back to it. It's support, right? Having the right people in the right circle in the right spot to make. We're gonna have challenges, right? Life has challenges. Life in business has challenges. It's being prepared by having a great network put together or a great support system put together, whether that's in business or just in your life, that helps you overcome those, right? Relieve stress. I mentioned it we just came back from our Blacktop Banter meetup at KM International, and I mentioned that, and I mentioned it recently on a podcast in Pittsburgh, that there are people who usually in that circle have went through everything, and there's people who are going through it, and there's people who haven't went through it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're the one sitting where you haven't went through it yet, there's a relief that comes over you when you realize I may not know what I'm doing, but I know Jack does, and Jack's in my circle. So I'm not worried. I'm okay with going forward because I'm not going to get blindsided. And I think that you've done a great job. You know, when you describe G-Force, you've done a great job of creating that for your franchise owners.
Well, it's really the people. If you can give them the tools, but if they don't use them and apply them, and they're not of they don't share the same values, it doesn't work. It's a tricky business. It's from the outside looking in, it can look fairly easy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that certain locations, they've got 50 or 100 and they must be doing well, but there might be battles galore internally that are just you just don't see from the outside. Luckily, we don't have that. I'm blessed with a really rock star corporate team. My VP of operations, Rachel Pitts, is been a huge addition for us. She's a military spouse. Her husband's active duty Marine. Craig LeCaire is my partner. He was one of my franchisees from my old brand, and he sold his business. And I had posted a job online. He goes, "Well, why didn't you call me?" I said, "Well, you just sold your business. I thought you wanted to relax." Because I'm wearing a circle in my car, or a path in my carpet for 2 weeks. I need to do something. So,
oh shoot,
Craig was a huge boost. John Kling came to us, formerly with Gem Seal, and he's got an asphalt background. He's our VP of business development, and my executive administrator here and bookkeepers lives just one town over from me here in New Hampshire. But we're remote, so I've got one person in Texas, one in Missouri, one in Colorado, and my executive administrator here is in New Hampshire. But we've made a point now. We're making an annual thing to get together for a corporate retreat, spend some time together, brainstorm, but also have fun and connect, because it's really hard to build that culture in a remote environment.
It is.
It's very difficult. I'm lucky. I'm able to do it because I've hired the right people. But without the right people, it's so hard. But
yeah.
I'm lucky to
what overall, right? So you've had I'll say plenty of experience, right? So you've met a lot of people, you've had to interact with a lot of people, you've applied yourself in these shotgun marriages, right, with a lot of other people. And what would be a piece of advice that you would give that would be just an overall piece of advice that if people would either apply this or study this or think about this piece of advice, it really adds value to their life? What would that be, you think, overall, Jack?
I don't have any deep philosophical advice. I try to keep it simple. And it was a theme that I had developed when I was a union leader. We had folks, we were negotiating with the airline, and pilots are paid pretty well. They're paid really well now. But back in the day, they were paid pretty well, but there was a lot of unhappiness and dissatisfaction in the pilot group back then. And I felt, where you focus on dollars, I would write often about the importance of respect. And sometimes respect shows up in the way of dollars. But I felt there was at the time, the management of the airline did not respect the pilot group at all for a lot of different reasons. And I think respect for the people who work for you, respect for your customers. I think it's really important to respect your vendors. Like, yes, you're their customer, but you can't function without them. Vendors are critically important to your success. And finally, I think respect for yourself, right? That, it's easy, at least for me, to kind of place everybody else is kind of more important than I am. But sometimes I have to remind myself that I need to respect what I've done and what I'm trying to accomplish on their behalf.
Mhm.
And so I just use that one word, respect, to guide pretty much everything we do.
Yeah. No, it's a great piece of advice. I think it's easy, right? The world's throwing a lot of different stuff at us all the time nowadays. It's easy to kind of let that get on the back burner, along with a lot of other, integral pieces of advice and things we should keep in mind. Very cool, my friend. Well, Jack, I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. I really, really appreciate you spending time with us here on Blacktop Banter. It's always fun to be able to gain some new perspective, get some insight, and see what's interesting and cool going on within our industry. That's my goal anyway. So really look forward to it. Thanks so much. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Marvin. Bye-bye.
Yep, no worries. All right, for myself, for Blacktop Banter, I'm Marvin Joles. Our guest today was Jack Child with GeForce. And of course, as always, if you're curious about the Blacktop Banter Success Group, feel free to go to blacktopbanter.com, find the drop-down tab there. We would love to have the conversation to see how we can help you. And of course, you can have the merch. That site's on there as well. If you need to update your hat collection or shirt collection with anything Blacktop Banter, that's over there as well. Otherwise, we will see you next time. So as for myself and for Jack, this is Blacktop Banter, and we speak asphalt. Peace. Hey everybody, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter. And if you enjoy the podcast and what we've been bringing to the industry, you can support us through a one-time or recurring donation at blacktopbanter.com. There we have a support tab. You click that and choose your path from there. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do us a favor and leave a review there for us as well. As always, we speak asphalt, and thanks for your support. This episode of Blacktop Banter is brought to you by Crafco, the world's leading manufacturer of packaged pavement preservation materials and equipment for the asphalt industry. Learn more at crafco.com.